Our next presenter is Jenni Parrish. A native Texan, Jenni spent her early years collecting ladybugs and cheering for small-town heroes on Friday nights at football games. After a tour of colleges and countless changes to her major, she eventually landed at UTD, where she earned a BA in Literary Studies, which helped her land a job as a copywriter. A lover of Southern literature and liberal ideas, she is a self-proclaimed awkward hugger, overreactor, and Mexican food connoisseur. Jenni now cheers for her husband and 2 sons in Rockwall, Texas. They travel into the big city to attend what she says church here almost every Sunday. Here to give her speech entitled The Sunset, Miss Jenni Parrish.
Good evening. It's an honor to be here tonight and share a very personal story in a public setting for the first time. On December 5th, 2003, I witnessed the most stunning sunset I had ever seen, and it will forever be etched in my mind. It was pink and orange and yellow, blue and purple, all swirled together like a jarred sand sculpture you make as a child. Earlier that afternoon, I was bouncing around Target with my mother, scouting out baby items for my gift registry. See, my husband, Jerry, and I, we were expecting our first child in just 2 months. And the idea of being a mom, it was both exciting and scary. That day, instead of studying car seats and bottles, I kept touching the baby blankets and imagined what it would feel like to be swaddled in something so soft and warm. My cell phone rang, and I was told to get to Baylor Hospital downtown Dallas ASAP. My husband, he had been in an accident. I dropped the baby blue blanket I was holding in that moment, and I ran out the door. My mom drove as we headed due west into the city, and time stood still as I stared ahead at the blinding sunset, my vision becoming spotty at times from the intensity of the light. But still, I stared. I can't remember if I spoke during that drive. I just remember the bright, beautiful colors, punctuated with blackness. When we got to the emergency room, a rather cheerful woman behind the desk, she stopped smiling when I told her my name. She led us back to a private waiting room and said a doctor would be in shortly. I held my mom's hand, and it was cold, but her touch was warming. The doctor, he came into the room, and with both pity and tenderness in his voice, he told me that Jerry had died. And I wept hard, and I wept loud. And I did not recognize the sounds that were coming from me. It was primitive, it was raw, like a wounded animal, dazed by the intensity of the pain. I just wanted to curl up on the floor, wrapped up in one of those blankets I was holding my face just an hour before. I wanted to go back in time to before that sunset. I watched the tears fall in steady streams, splashing on my baby belly, aware that my life would forever be different now that Jerry's life was over. I followed the doctor through 2 sets of double doors. My head hung low, and I watched the doctor's feet guide me to see Jerry one last time. When I got to the room, I climbed up on the table where he was. The table was cold. I nuzzled my nose into his neck, and I inhaled deeply, and I closed my eyes. And what I saw was that beautiful sunset. Now, we all have our stories of sorrow. What I really want to share with you today is a story of promise. A figurative blanket was wrapped around me that day. At 26, I was still searching for what I wanted to do with my life, and the vivid colors of that sunset, it represented a renewed purpose, a commitment to living my life to the fullest. I wanted to be a good mom. I wanted a career where I could support my child, and I wanted to do something that I felt mattered, that made a difference. Any fear of failure I'd ever had, it was gone. I poured myself into being a mother and a student. I poured myself into understanding what truly mattered to me. I graduated with a degree in literary studies, and I set out to find a job that I really wanted, not just one I thought would be easy. I craved a career where I could have a constant creative outlet. Shortly after, I was hired as a copywriter by a company whose mission is to help develop today's young into tomorrow's leaders. Fast forward 7 years, and I now manage that marketing department and lead up our team's creative efforts to promote a way of life I believe in and I'm passionate about. I'm remarried, and my husband, Gerald, he challenges me to be authentic and true to my passions. Together, we have a 5-year-old son, Jet, and though my oldest son, Jake, he never met his real father, Gerald has stepped in to be a wonderful dad. That decade-old sunset, it dawned in a new era of my life. I'm not afraid of death. What I'm afraid of is not living. One of my favorite courses in school, it was a literature class on transcendentalism. And I actually first heard of Unitarians and Unitarian Universalists in that class. Required reading was Ralph Waldo Emerson's Self-Reliance, and that essay, along with the totality of Emerson's work, it stays with me to this day. I'd like to share one of his quotes with you. The purpose of life is not to be happy. It is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to have it make some difference that you have lived and lived well. Of course, he wouldn't like that I'm quoting him at all because he said, I hate quotation. Tell me what you know. Well, this is what I know. Life is hard, but life is good, and most people you meet along the way are great. Life's not easy, it's rarely fair, and there are no guarantees, but there can be beauty in it all. If you work hard and you work smart, you still might not get ahead, but each night you can sleep peacefully knowing you've given your all. How you treat people, it says everything about you and nothing about them. And hope, coupled with determination, it's the most comfortable pillow of all. The other day, Jake and I were sitting outside just as the sun was setting on the horizon. Isn't it beautiful, Mom? He said. Yes, it is. Thank you.